I hope you're having a great day. Well, today I want to talk about simple lifestyle changes that you can make if you're that kind of person who has sugar cravings all the time. Now, sugar, we know sugar is bad for us. Too much of sugar is bad for us. A lot of us grew up having a little bit of sugar in our tea, in our morning cup of coffee, and we were absolutely fine when we have sedentary lifestyles. So you see, we have to understand that sugar leads to inflammation in the body. Sugar causes a lot of problems today, and we need to reduce the amount of sugar that we're consuming. Right from children, from the age of 2 to 3, the overconsumption of sugar in the child's life it's terrible. There's so much of sugar going into people's lives, into the elderly people as well, into the middle-aged people, into teenagers. And we may have a little bit of sugar at home, but we need to understand that when we have a lifestyle that involves eating food out in restaurants constantly, or eating packaged foods and eating junk food, there is hidden sugar in many forms in most of these foods, especially a lot of health foods that say low fat. Low fat cookies, low fat yogurt, low fat drinks, those are loaded with sugar. So we're consuming way more sugar than we think we are. And that's what's causing most of the health problems today. We can see correlations between sugar and most autism, children with ADHD. A lot of these problems are caused by the amount of sugar. And then you have refined sugar, you have brown sugar, you have something which is evil that's called high corn fructose syrup that fills most of our aerated drinks, most of our packaged juices. So you'll see a lot of these companies selling cold pressed fruit juices, and then they have all of these hidden sugars in them, just disguised with fancy names. So we got to be careful with the amount of sugar that we have. Now, one thing that we need to understand that when we're trying to cut down on sugar craving, okay, there are a lot of people who need sugar every single day in the form of chocolate, in the form of sweets, in any form. We need to understand that the cleaner your body is, the less cravings you have. The more toxins you have in your body, the more cravings you will have for things like sugar. So the first thing to look at when you are struggling with sugar cravings, now having a little bit of sweet over here, a little bit of cake, like I said, having a little bit of sugar in your coffee or tea is not going to cause a problem for you. It is the overconsumption when we have these constant cravings and we go on these binge eating episodes where we keep having more and more sugar. The first thing that you look at is the health of your gut. Now, in your gut, you have this ecology. It's called your microbiome. You have good bacteria and you have bad bacteria. You have colonies, thousands of colonies of good bacteria and bad bacteria. Now, the problem is you need both. You need the good bacteria and you need the bad bacteria. The problem is when the bad bacteria grows more than the good bacteria. So this bad bacteria feeds on sugar. So to grow, it needs energy. It'll get that energy from sugar, simple carbohydrates. It'll get it from white sugar. So when it's growing, it needs energy. How does it get its food? By sending a message to the brain, to your receptors, telling you that it needs more food, and that food is sugar. So you constantly get cravings for things that have sugar. You're not going to get a craving for a fruit. You're not going to get a craving for an almond or a walnut or pumpkin seeds. You're going to get a craving for something that has sugar, or something which is like a simple carbohydrate that can break down into sugar, because that's what feeds it. So the more you feed it, the more that bad bacteria grows and the more cravings you have. It's like a vicious cycle. So to solve that problem is we need to kill that bad bacteria and bring it back down into a level that is normal for the human body. We've all heard of something called candida. Candida is nothing but a fungal infection. Basically, it's not a fungal infection, it's a fungal growth. Basically, you have candida. Everyone has candida. But when it starts growing more than it's required, we start finding that coating on our tongues in the morning. It's a dark yellowish or a light yellowish coating or a thick white coating on the back of your tongue. Women will find it in their vaginas in the form of thrush. We'll have this bloated feeling, constant bloated feeling. You eat something, you even drink water and you get bloated. That means your bad bacteria is more than your good bacteria. Now that bad bacteria starts poking holes into your intestinal linings of your gut. And that's when we have problems like autoimmune, where you have bacteria, pathogens, and antibodies seep into your blood, causing your immune system to rise rapidly. Okay, so when we're constipated, we upset the ecology of the gut. Think about it. You have an ecology of growing bacteria, and all of a sudden you have waste stored in your body that is fueling the bad bacteria and creating an environment for the bad bacteria to grow. That's constipation. So looking after your gut health is the number one way to control and to reduce your sweet cravings. So the moment your gut health is in order, the cravings will automatically come down. So for that, you look at your eating, you look at your nutrition, you look at the usage of natural probiotics. If not natural, you look at a good recommended quality probiotic. We need to understand that people are popping probiotics like candy today. If you have too much of probiotic as well, you can also upset the ecology of your microbiome. So you want to make sure that you do this under professional advice, because if you take too many probiotics, you are also going to cause a problem with your bacteria. Fermented foods. Now, fermented foods are great for a healthy gut, but if your gut is unhealthy, fermented foods can actually cause a problem and cause more bloating and cause more acidity, because it actually feeds the bad bacteria. So you want to make sure that something that is also good for you is always done in moderation and in the right way. The second lifestyle change when it comes to managing your cravings is your sleep. If your body does not get the right amount of sleep, I shouldn't say you, because our minds can do with less sleep. Our conscious minds are okay to compensate sleep, to party, to work late, or to do something else. But our bodies require the right amount of sleep. If our bodies do not get the right amount of sleep, we have a hormonal imbalance. Leptin, which is a satiety hormone, that means it's a hormone that tells our body that we're satisfied and we stop eating, that is suppressed when we have lack of sleep. And that is suppressed, and another hormone called ghrelin, that is your hunger hormone, stays up. So even if you're full, you will keep getting signals to the brain that you are constantly hungry, because you see, everything in the human body works on constant communication between your cells and your hormones. So you either have the right communication or you have the wrong communication. That communication is also dependent on the kind of rest and deep sleep that your body and mind gets every single night. And most people out there will know it. If you have lack of sleep for even one night, the next day you have cravings for caffeine, you have cravings for sugary snacks, you have cravings for anything that gives you that quick fix of energy. So fix your sleep, and you can possibly fix your cravings and your sugar cravings as well. The third, your emotions. Be aware of your emotional health, because most people overdoing it on sugar are doing it out of emotion. There is physical hunger, and then there is emotional hunger. Most people are feeding their emotions rather than their physical self. So if we have voids in ourselves, if we have voids in us, emotional voids, basically, which have to be filled by handling that emotion, but we're mostly filling these voids with sugar, sugary drinks, and caffeine, thinking that it is making us feel better for a short period of time. We get that high with the sugar spike, and then the moment insulin brings it down, we get into a crash. And now our sugar levels have to rise up again to help us feel good again, and we start this vicious cycle of the addiction of sugar. So working with your emotions, either meditating, facing your problems. There are just too many humans out there who do not want to face their problems, so we've got so good at coping with them. We have coping mechanisms. Now, coping mechanisms are great for us, but if we're constantly coping and pushing, leaving these voids more and more empty, we will constantly fill it with sugar and more junk and more caffeine. So sometimes we got to fill that emotional void, which means sometimes we got to deal with the emotional problem that we have in our life. Now, you can meditate, you can sleep, you can deep breathe, you can do pranayama, you can do more exercise, whatever it is, or you can deal with the problem right up front. But dealing with your emotions is a good way of cutting down your sugar cravings. Fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or dry fasting. And this is brilliant, because we've had tens of thousands of people from around the world who started intermittent fasting, and they got back with this one common feedback: I no longer crave sugar. A lot of them said, we've been coffee drinkers throughout our life and we no longer crave caffeine. A lot of people got off tea completely, not because they forced themselves to. They never planned for it. It's just that their body doesn't ask them for that sugar or that caffeine or that tea anymore. Because when you fast, you train your body, you clean your body. Like I said earlier, the cleaner your body, the less toxic you are, the less cravings you have for anything. It's the same with the human mind. When the human mind is clean, when the human mind is pure, you don't crave, you don't have that many desires. But when we're constantly filled within a toxic environment around us with thoughts and desires and emotions, we have more cravings, we have more we have this want of trying to be like other people, mirror other people, do what everyone else is doing, because we're lost within all that chaos in our mind, which is nothing but toxicity in the human mind. So the same thing with the human body. So if you are trying to break that sugar craving, start intermittent fasting. You can watch the video on that. I'm not going to take up this time to explain intermittent fasting, but by far it is one of the most powerful ways to break that sugar craving cycle that you have. Now, if you can't do it right away, substitute your refined sugar with more healthier versions. Okay, it's still sugar, but it's healthier sugar that comes with health benefits. You can look at raw honey, you can look at jaggery, you can look at stevia as a crutch to slowly get you off that white sugar and that refined sugar into something else, and then slowly get off everything if you're trying to break that cycle of craving. Okay. The last point is, sometimes you need to medically check yourself. If you have constant cravings, you want to check your blood pressure. You want to see that, because people who have constantly low blood pressure have cravings of something sweet to bring up their pressure and their blood sugar levels. You want to check your blood sugar levels as well, because extreme fluctuations of your blood sugar levels can also make you constantly crave sugar or carbohydrates. Now, the last point, in case you can't do any of this and you're still struggling, okay, if you are eating something sweet, at least eat it without guilt. Eat it without guilt, because if you eat it with guilt, number one, when you eat it with guilt, you're in the sympathetic nervous system, your cortisol goes up, and you start this vicious cycle of not even being able to digest what you eat. So if you're unable to break your cravings and you need that piece of sweet every day or that dessert, at least eat it and truly enjoy it, and don't do it with regret, and don't do it without guilt. So at least you maintain the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system of your body, and you allow it to digest the way that you have to. So these are simple lifestyle changes that you can make right now. They're inexpensive, they're free to break down those sugar cravings. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.